Yo, three multi-trillion-dollar banks have all gotten some Bitcoin FOMO in the last 24 hours at Davos. Why has the World Economic Forum annual conference turned into a Bitcoin conference? Is the election of Trump creating a wave of FOMO amongst these multi-trillion-dollar banks? Or is there something deeper going on behind the scenes at the annual Cantillionaire conference in Davos, Switzerland? Today we're going to be exploring all that, but before, let's play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
I have to admit that I'm still struggling to understand exactly the value and the merits of cryptocurrencies. I'm not talking about stable coins, but I'm talking about more traditional one. Now, it would be, on the other end, looking at the phenomenon that goes on for so long now, it would be a little bit naive and to just think that it's just speculation. I think it's speculation. We know it's also used by, call it probably not so good activities or and criminalities, but we have to bring it back to the financial stability topic. Many people invest in cryptocurrencies because they don't trust any longer the fiat system and the Bretton Woods system. And particularly here I'm talking about emerging markets and certain places where inflation or political instability is a threat to savings. So we have to really understand if crypto in some cases, and again, I'm not a big fan of cryptos, but is this the new gold? Is that a different way for people to secure a different kind of assets they believe is not in control of the establishment? So I'm not saying that this is exactly what's happening, but there is an element, and I'm hearing more and more people thinking that way. So that's a real risk to financial stability, is that we see the creation of parallel systems.
Obviously, it's a big part of that. So you got the retail side of it. What do you make of crypto under Trump, this Trump administration, what may happen and what that speaks? I mean, we're talking about meme coins. I don't know if you're following the Trump coin or the Melania coin and what that says about what's happening here.
Well, I think there is liquidity, and the liquidity, expresses itself in all kinds of different ways. I think the broader question is whether some of this has come of age, whether it's hit escape velocity. And, time is the friend. The longer it trades and, perception becomes reality. For us, the equation is really around whether we as a highly regulated financial institution can act as transactors, sort of follow the money. And there we'll be working with Treasury and the other regulators to sort of.
This reduce the cost of virtually all goods and services. It'll make the United States a manufacturing superpower and the world capital of artificial intelligence.
All right, everybody. I mean, I've been saying it for a long time now. Elections have consequences. The World Economic Forum, the Cantillionaire conference, they haven't been friendly to our industry, to say the least, for many years now. And all of a sudden, a change in tune. The CEO of some of America's largest banks, the bank of, I don't believe it's an American bank, but the CEO of UBS, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, and of course the CEO of Bank of America. The other day we played you guys the video. These banks have trillions of dollars assets under management, and they're all basically saying something along the same lines. We might not have a choice. This is happening whether we like it or not. We are probably going to have to offer this to our clients. And then some are saying, like, look, that we're just basically waiting for the approval of, the regulatory approval. I think the repeal of SAB 121. SAB 121 makes it very inconvenient from an accounting perspective for banks to custody Bitcoin and institutions to custody Bitcoin. So yes, elections have consequences. There you saw Trump at the World Economic Forum mentioning AI and crypto. Of course, he didn't say Bitcoin. He didn't say it wasn't perfect. But I mean, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. The writing's on the wall, and we're taking over that conference. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. and our industry is in the room. That is what's happening. So we are winning. We can't stop winning. The people that say you're going to get tired of winning, I don't know about that. I'm not tired of winning. I want to win more. This is very, very, very bullish news for Bitcoin overall, at least from a number go up perspective. Last year, they were just basically saying that we're going to ban this thing. This thing is useless. And now they're basically saying, hey, guys, we might not have an option but to integrate this into our products, but to adopt this. And that is incredibly bullish, but not surprising whatsoever. Anyways, I'm joined today with my legendary co-host Optimus Fields, and we got Chase and Mason in the house joining us today. Opti, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts, man? This is pretty crazy, dude. A year ago, we would have never have imagined this at all. We were thinking about moving to El Salvador like six months ago because of the regulatory hostility that was happening in the United States. And man, have we made an F ton of progress. Opti.
Yeah, so I mean, I was saying it this morning while we were crafting the show, and kind of trolling of like, what is actually going on? It's making me feel a little weird. Maybe I'm just so used to like being the underdog here as a Bitcoiner that now it feels weird having the biggest bankers in the world and the president of the leading financial country in the world start to embrace Bitcoin. We have Uncle Larry pumping our bags. It does almost feel like too much winning, but hey, I'm still just sitting here wondering what's actually going on. But to really dive into some of the points that we just heard in those clips, first of all, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that Trump said crypto instead of Bitcoin right now. I think we all know why he said that, considering what we heard Andrew Sorkin kind of talk about the meme coins. The next part is the growing trend we're seeing right now. And also, let's not forget, later, I guess Trump's going to sign another executive order. Obviously, a lot of Bitcoiners are saying that it's going to be a strategic Bitcoin stockpile. Personally, I think it's going to be more on the lines of the SAB 121 repeal. And I think that would be a huge, huge thing that happened later today. Also, he's going to be talking to Bukele after that. So I don't know, a lot of dots to connect. But really, I think the main point and the main explosive bombshell that we heard was from, I'm going to butcher his name, Sergio Ermati, I think, of CEO of UBS, saying a lot of the stuff that us Bitcoiners have been saying. And also, to clarify, Nico stole my joke. Davos is now turning into a Bitcoin conference, and it is making me feel a little icky. But what he said in that clip is absolutely amazing. You can hear in his own voice that he doesn't fully understand Bitcoin, but they are getting dragged, kicking and screaming to try to understand Bitcoin. They are being forced to bend the knee around Bitcoin. And the main part that I heard there was him saying, on the lines of people don't trust fiat currency. People, aren't really happy with the Bretton Woods agreement here. And they're looking for alternatives, and especially in emerging markets. And we're seeing all of this play out in real time. The trust in fiat currency and traditional financial markets, it is eroding. A lot of people are kind of waking up to the fact that inflation may be getting out of hand. Like, what is actually going on? Are these levers that Washington, D.C. has, or the Fed and central banks around the world have, are they actually controlling the economy, or are we on a runaway train? I think all of us Bitcoiners know Lynn Alden's been saying, Lynn Alden's been saying for a while, you can't stop this train. And now we're getting into this era right now where it seems like the banks are chomping at the bits to see what happens with this Trump regulations, or rather this Trump administration around regulations. And again, if they repeal SAB 121 later today at a certain point, basically right when we end the show, it's going to kick off a whole new wave of institutional capital. And I think we have perfect guests to kind of talk about that. We have Chase and Mason of Acropolis Treasury that are helping corporations add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. So Chase, Mason, thanks for coming on today. What's your guys' thoughts hearing some of the biggest bankers in the world at Davos talk about Bitcoin?
Yeah, man, thanks for having us. We're stoked to be here. I guess what I'm seeing is it seems like we're tripping a few different tipping points all at the same time. So Trump got elected. Personally, I think that's because Bitcoiners have become a big enough voting bloc that we can actually tip the elections now. And I think that that's only going to be even more the case 4 years from now when we go into our next US presidential election. We've tipped when it comes to kind of the general awareness of inflation. You know, a lot of people besides Bitcoiners had no idea what inflation was or monetary expansion and debasement. These ideas were pretty foreign and, you know, out of the Overton window just 4 years ago. So I think we've tipped there. With corporate adoption.
Did we lose him?
I think we might have lost Mason. While he comes back, ladies and gentlemen, this is live. You guys are listening to Simply Bitcoin. We got Chase back. We got Chase back. Chase, the Matrix had you for a second. You want to continue your thought?
Yeah, we won't let them stop us. I was just kind of saying we're hitting all these different tipping points seemingly simultaneously. So corporate adoption of Bitcoin Treasury strategies led by MicroStrategy. We've also got nation state adoption now kicking off on the sovereign level with the SBR that I expect us to get any day now. And then with the repeal of SAB 121, it's just the fact that banks want to be able to custody the asset. And maybe we'll get into all the benefits that'll come with that when banks can start borrowing and lending on Bitcoin and how Bitcoiners are going to have the lowest cost of capital. But it just seems like we're hitting like 5 or 6 major tipping points all at the same time.
Absolutely. 100%. Chase, very, very good insights. Mason, what are your thoughts on that? Before I pass it on to Mason, actually, I want to give a shout out to the live stream. There's 567 of you guys watching live on YouTube alone, and roughly 2,000 of you guys watching live between all platforms. Of course, shout out to our X and Rumble audience as well. Guys, help us break 100 likes within the first 15 minutes of the show. We're already at 94 likes, so smash the like button. Actually, let's bring up that like goal to 150 likes within the first 20 minutes. So if you guys are enjoying Simply Bitcoin Live, smash the like button. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Mason. Mason, what are your thoughts on this, man? This is crazy. I mean, Trump was right when he said, you guys are going to get tired of winning. You guys are going to have so much winning when he made that historical speech at the Nashville Bitcoin 2024 conference. Mason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I was there in Nashville when he made those comments, and it was surreal to have a previous president at that time, now current president of the United States, talking about Bitcoin just at all. Obviously is huge, but I'm not tired of winning yet. I really hope that this winning will continue. I believe it will, and we're talking about things that we anticipate to happen in the future. But I think what's been huge for us at Acropolis has been the FASB change, so that companies can now put Bitcoin on their balance sheet and not have to write down those the value of those Bitcoin holdings to the lowest point until they sell it. That's been huge for us. That is really, it sounds basic, it sounds simple, but that's been huge for us, obviously, along with everything else that we're anticipating.
100%. It's massive. I think this is going to be an enormous year for our industry. I've been predicting it for the last 3 or 4 days, guys. I'm feeling 2017 vibes. In January of 2017, Bitcoin was at $1,000 and it did nothing for an entire 30 days. By the end of 2017, we saw 20K Bitcoin. 2016, we had a roughly 130% gain. 2024, roughly 130% gain. So I'm feeling 2017 vibes. This
20x incoming, Nico?
I don't know about that, bro. We don't need a 20x. With the 5x, we're at $500,000 per coin, right? So yeah, I'm very excited about this year. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised from a regulatory perspective. The stars and planets are aligning. And of course, the institutional adoption of Bitcoin is just continuing to go absolutely bananas. So all these things are aligning, right, for an explosive 2025. For if you guys are new to the industry, what tends to happen is Bitcoin tends to have the year of the parabola the year after the halving. It's done so ever since its inception. I don't think this year is going to be any different. That's what I'm expecting. I could be completely wrong. That's not financial advice. My only financial advice is stay humble, stack sats, and stay solvent. All right, everybody, before we start the show, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on-chain or via the Lightning Network in Canada and the USA. To get started, you put in your email address and it takes about 2 to 5 minutes to sign up, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin Well different is that it's a completely non-custodial platform. That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. Also, if you're a higher net worth individual and you're trying to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, check out their Bitcoin Well Infinite product. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. It's a white glove service for people who are sick and tired of dealing with that finicky UI or support emails that take weeks to get back to you. If you want a dedicated agent who you can call or text every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, you have to go check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. Also, if you live in the United States, now you can get paid directly in Bitcoin. Check this out. Americans can now get paid in Bitcoin sent directly to their personal Bitcoin wallet. Share your Bitcoin Well direct deposit details with your employer, set your Bitcoin/dollar split, and receive sats instead of fiat with every paycheck. Very, very exciting. So guys, go check out bitcoinwell.com today and use promo code SIMPLYBTC to sign up. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have tons to talk about. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water. They put a blowtorch to it. And as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. All right, everybody, don't put yourself in a situation where you've held for many years, many decades, and for whatever reason, you lost your seed words because you wrote them down on paper. And don't put yourself in that situation. So get yourself a Stampseed kit. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. Stamp your seed into titanium using the Stampseed kit. Stampseed.com, promo code SIMPLY, 15% off. Price at the time of recording, $105,540. Block height, 880,525. Sats per dollar, under 1,000. We're currently sitting pretty at 947. Market cap, 2.09 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 10.91%. Percentage issued, 94.35%. Decline from all-time high, negative 3.3%. Realized monetary inflation, 1.05%. In the grand scheme of things, the party is just getting started. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I had a very special interview a couple couple days ago with Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming. Full production value that we're going to be doing a lot more of these in 2025. You guys are going to be absolutely loving it. We're going to be dropping the first one today with the man who orange pilled Michael Saylor, Eric Weiss. It's going to be absolutely awesome. But the reason I'm showing this picture off is because I went to DC to talk to Senator Lummis about the strategic Bitcoin reserve on the federal level. And of course, Dennis Porter joined us, who he has really been at the front of the strategic Bitcoin initiatives on the state level. And it was an amazing conversation. You guys will have that very, very soon. Senator Cynthia Lummis actually made an announcement this morning, and here it is. Digital assets are the future, and if the United States wants to remain a global leader in financial innovation, Congress needs to urgently pass bipartisan legislation establishing a comprehensive legal framework for digital assets and that strengthens the U.S. dollar with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I am humbled by my colleagues have placed their trust in me to chair this historic subcommittee, and I look forward to shepherding bipartisan legislation to President Trump's desk this year that secures our financial future. So, what am I talking about? Cynthia Lummis was tapped to lead first ever Senate crypto subcommittee. This is going to be under the banking committee. The banking committee is going to have a subcommittee that is specifically focused on digital assets. Here's a little bit more details. According to Fox Business, this would be an offshoot of the Senate Banking Committee. It has a new chairman in the form of South Carolina's Tim Scott, who has previously said that crypto has the potential to democratize the financial world. Scott recently held a meeting with Donald Trump's incoming crypto czar, David Sachs, and appeared with Lummis at a panel of the Wyoming blockchain last September. At the time, he said, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we had a subcommittee on the banking committee that focuses on the industry so that we bring more light to the conversation, more hearings on the industry so we get things done faster. Such a subcommittee already exists in the larger House of Representatives, which is also undergoing a leadership change. On Thursday, it was announced that Wisconsin's Brian Steele will chair the House Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Technology Intelligence with jurisdiction over crypto. Well, it was just confirmed today, ladies and gentlemen, that Senator Cynthia Lummis will be heading the Digital Assets Subcommittee in the Senate, which is the upper house of the legislative branch in the United States. Here is CZ. CZ is the founder of Binance, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world. And he says the U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve pretty much confirmed, and he is quote tweeting Senator Cynthia Lummis' statement on being named chair of the Senate Banking Subcommittee on Digital Assets, and the poly market odds do reflect it's up to a 69% probability that the United States has a Bitcoin reserve in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm expecting at least, I'm saying it boldly and proudly on the show, at least $500,000 this year, because this is gonna set in motion a nation state FOMO, the likes of which you have never seen before. Russia, China, all the countries that look at the United States as a competitor, they're gonna be looking and they're gonna say, what the F is going, like, we can't get left behind. Donald Trump just dropped the name crypto or Bitcoin at the World Economic Forum. That was our mortal enemy last year. I think we did like 3 or 4 episodes just dedicated on exposing all the BS that was coming out of the World Economic Forum. And now you have the CEOs of the world's largest banks basically saying like, yo, guys, we're fucked. We're probably going to have to implement this. I don't understand it. We don't get this, but like, this is where things are going. We don't have a choice. We're just going to have to do this anyways. This is crazy. And something that I love about the betting markets is that they're more accurate than everything else. in terms of making predictions, because people actually have money on the line. So anyways, incredibly bullish news overall. It looks like at the moment we are getting a national strategic reserve here in the United States. And again, you guys are going to have to wait for the Cynthia Lummis episode that will be dropping on Saturday, where I'll have even more information on the ground from DC in regards to why the strategic Bitcoin reserve is important, why it's great for the price, and all the details that you guys want to know about it. So anyways, Opti, I'm going to pass it on to you. This is crazy, dude. I mean, elections have consequences, do they not?
Yeah, I think you're fully vindicated on that front, Nico. But this Senator Lummis news, I think is absolutely huge, and it's kind of rare when I agree with CZ on things, but I think this is kind of confirmation that a strategic Bitcoin stockpile or reserve is damn near. It's a go. It's 100%. It's going to happen. Well, we'll see if they can actually, push it through Congress and all that stuff. But it seems like it's a go. Having Senator Lummis in that position, remember her family, she's literally has family members that are really big Bitcoiners. You guys know who they are. And she is a Bitcoiner. So we literally have a Bitcoiner in that position. And it's something we've been saying for a long time on the show that, yes, as much as Bitcoiners hate politics, I'd rather have Bitcoiners in these positions. Obviously, a lot of people have been funding it like, oh, you guys used to hate on Nancy Pelosi and now you're embracing Bitcoiners in those positions. I'm like, yeah, exactly. This is aligned incentives. Now, it is very interesting, though, that the strategic Bitcoin reserve odds, hold on one second, choking on my saliva over here. It is very interesting that the strategic Bitcoin stockpile or reserve numbers on the Polymarket odds are going up. And it seems, I know a lot of people are saying that it's priced in at this point. I don't think it's actually priced in, but I think there is kind of a concern about if it doesn't actually go through, that we might see a really aggressive dump, because people are so bullish on the SBR happening right now that I'm starting to see people kind of get a little frothy and impatient about it. And we saw this happen this morning when Senator Lummis announced, she did an announcement of an announcement this morning. The Bitcoin price pumped like 5% and then instantly dumped when it wasn't a strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement. So I think in terms of price right now, the volatility might increase if Bitcoin doesn't get, or a strategic Bitcoin reserve doesn't get passed. But obviously in the long runs, I think it's a no-brainer. It's going to happen at some point. But I think Bitcoiners are getting a little impatient right now. It's what, day 3 now of the Trump presidency? And everyone's like, where is my repeal of the SAB 121? Where is the strategic Bitcoin reserve? And it's like, guys, he's got a lot on his plate. He's doing a lot of things. At least we did get Ross day 1. But I'm definitely hopeful. And again, cautiously optimistic about what we're seeing, or rather the regulations around Bitcoin that we're going to see. Obviously, I'm not so happy about Trump kind of pulling back on saying Bitcoin and saying more crypto, but it is what it is. Everyone knows when he says crypto what he actually means, but he's got to play some cover right now. So those are my takeaways from that clip. I'll pass it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we do that, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show, we're at 776 live viewers just on YouTube alone, and roughly 3,000 live viewers across all platforms. Shout out to the Rumble audience as well. Help us break 300 likes within the first 40 minutes of the show. We're currently at 225 likes. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Chase. Chase, what are your thoughts on this? What are your opinion? I mean, this is pretty crazy. 69% probability that a strategic Bitcoin reserve will be implemented in the United States this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Opti's point, maybe the news of a strategic Bitcoin reserve is priced in, but I'll tell you what's not priced in. That's the US government going out and buying spot Bitcoin in the market. So, the news might be priced in, but the buying power of the US government and then the other sovereign countries that are going to have to follow suit, that is definitely not priced in. And I think we're going a lot higher. And then when it comes to Senator Cynthia Lummis, I mean, there are very few senators or even politicians that I would consider a better Bitcoiner than myself and has been in Bitcoin longer than me. And, hats off to Cynthia Lummis. She is the real deal. Nobody better to lead that charge.
Yeah, actually, can I jump in here real quick? Because Chase made a really good point, and it's the news of a strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement may be priced in, but I think as we saw this morning, a lot of I don't know who's buying the Bitcoin this morning and who's actually pumping the price, but it does look like a lot of people feel like they are undercapitalized to Bitcoin, and this is why it pumped so much. And so, if we do get a strategic Bitcoin reserve actually implemented, I think we might see an incredible amount of FOMO coming up. So I think that's a great point, Chase. We'll go to Mason.
Yeah, I think the news itself might be priced in short term, but there's no physical way for the flows to be priced in. I don't think humans are very good with numbers, and the idea of billions and then later trillions of dollars flowing into this ultimately scarce asset, yeah, it's going to be volatile in the short term, but we know that anyone who's held Bitcoin for more than 3 or 4 years has made a profit doing it. And I think this is becoming more known broadly. There's really no way that you can stave off Bitcoin going up when you have Wall Street buying every single day or every single business day. And then you have countries, like y'all said, fighting over who's going to have a bigger stockpile. I think, I'm not sure. I forgot if it was Opti or Nico that said $500,000 Bitcoin this year, but I think that's easily possible. And then maybe even a little bit bearish.
Oh,
let's go!
That's a soundboard. That's worthy of a soundboard. Opti.
Wait! I have to relish in this moment for Mason calling Nico a bear because he's been the reigning bear on this show all of last year. But hey, maybe Nico's catching the FOMO bug himself.
Man, I think when nation states start competing for your Bitcoin, price tends to go up, number goes up, and Bitcoiners are the winners here. All right, everybody, we will be right back. We're going to hit the news. We're going to talk. We have an update for you guys in terms of the Tornado Cash case. Once again, I'm going to keep reiterating this point. Elections have consequences. All right, everybody, we'll be right back. We're going to hit the news.
I want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind.
All right, everybody, this is Opti, and Opti currently has...
I don't have it. I could run. It's in the other room. I was using it this morning. So take me off screen. I'll be right back.
Opti will be right back. But anyways, let's jump into today's news, shall we? While Opti does that, Elections have consequences. I can't say this enough. Last year, we literally thought, oh, here's Opti. Opti's back. All right, Opti. Opti's holding the passport by Foundation devices. Use promo code SIMPLY to get a discount. Not your keys, not your cheese. All right, back to the show. All right, guys. What I want to talk about today is elections have consequences. So what does that mean? Well, it means look, the attack on the industry with Operation Choke Point 2.0, we're finding out that the Biden administration is also something that I talked to Senator Lummis with, essentially was targeting banks because they had a relationship with the industry. We know about the proposed 30% tax on Bitcoin miners. We know about the arrest of the Samurai Wallet developers. And what led to the arrest of the Samurai Wallet developers was the arrest of the Tornado Cash developers. And essentially the case that the US government was trying to make was that they can sanction open source software and that developers are responsible for criminals using open source software that they developed. And that's such a crazy concept. They didn't commit a crime. People use their software to commit a crime. So, but again, the reason that they're trying to set a precedent on this, and I believe that this is where this was going, was because you know what else is an open source software? Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, if it's successful, and I think it is, and I think it's going to continue to succeed, and we're going to see worldwide Bitcoin adoption because it's just better money. You can make an argument that it moves the balance of power from the state back to the individual. The fact that you can write down 12 words or even memorize them if you're in a pickle, and you can take your wealth with you is insane. The fact that you can be your own bank, the fact that you can send money anywhere around the world almost instantaneously, very low fee, without having to ask anybody for permission, is incredibly powerful. And I think that there were people like Elizabeth Warren, I think that's the most obvious example, that were not fans of that. I think that they wanted to create a monopoly so that they can roll out a central bank digital currency. And a Bitcoin and a CBDC can't coexist. And the reason they can't coexist is because if people had the choice between a non-inflationary, censorship-resistant money versus a money that is inflationary and is prone to censorship and control, eventually over time, people are going to pick the better option of the two. So this is what this case was all about. This was what this Tornado Cash case was all about. This is something that me and Opti have been covering diligently for over a year because we saw the writing on the wall. If you guys saw those episodes, I had the 1,000-yard stare and I was like, oh my God, like they're going after this because this is open source software. They're going to set a precedent. Once they set a precedent, because what they did was really smart. They focused on something that wasn't really popular. And once they set the precedent, a month after the Samurai Wallet guys were arrested. And you know where this is going, and it's something that I've said in the past too, right? If Satoshi was still a public figure, they would have arrested him by now, right? So anyways, elections have consequences. Now let's move on to today's news. So this came out January 20th, 2025. And it says Tornado Cash sanctions reversal has no effect on developers' trial, says Department of Justice. You know what else happened on January 20th, 2025? Donald Trump was inaugurated. 2 days later, U.S. District Court officially reverses sanctions on Tornado Cash Mixer. You think that's a coincidence? You think that's a coincidence that happened 2 days into the Trump administration? No. Once again, elections have consequences. Now, it goes on to say, A U.S. District Court ordered the Office of Foreign Asset Control to remove addresses associated with Tornado Cash from its specially designated national and blocked persons list, following an appeals court ruling that the Treasury Department exceeded its authority in sanctioning the crypto mixer. Now, if you think about what sanctions are meant for individuals. Sanctions are meant for countries. What the Treasury was saying was that we can sanction software. And you could just surmise how that just opens the door for abuse of power, right? Like we saw last year. So this is incredible news coming out of this. Here's some more information. The U.S. District Court in the Western District of Texas has ordered the overturning of an earlier ruling that backed sanctions against the cryptocurrency mixer Tornado Cash under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Quote, contrary to the department's arguments, the immutable smart contracts are not services. So even when we consider OFAC regulatory definitions, the immutable smart contracts are not property because they are not ownable, not contracts, or not services. In August of 2022, the OFAC sanctioned Tornado Cash for its use by North Korea in criminal and cybercrime activities. Tornado Cash developer Alex Pertsev was sentenced to over 5 years for money laundering in the Netherlands. Again, like the bullshit here, and excuse my language, is that TD Bank was caught laundering money for the Mexican drug cartel. And it was a record fine. And none of the TD Bank executives went to jail for that. And you can make the same exact argument that TD Bank facilitated money laundering, right? For the drug cartels, right? Because they always need a boogeyman. What's the difference? What's the difference between the two? What's the difference? The difference is one is in a system of which the government can control, and one is in a system of which the government can't control. And I think that's really what it boils down to. I think they wanted to make an example, just like they made an example out of Ross. It's the same thing. Anyways, it goes on to say, the key issues in the case involves the International Emergency Powers Act, allowing the president to any property in which a foreign country nation has an interest. The court stated that despite OFAC sanctions, Tornado Cash immutable smart contracts remain accessible online and are not ownable. The appeals court noted that while OFAC broadened the definition of property to include, quote, contracts of any nature, immutable contracts don't qualify as they don't involve an agreement between multiple parties. With only one party involved, these smart contracts are not considered a service, countering another argument by the Treasury Department. It goes on to say, quote, IEEPA grants the president broad powers to regulate a variety of economic transactions, but its language is not limitless. Mending a statute's blind spots or smoothing its disruptive effects falls outside our lane, the ruling reads, adding that legislation is Congress's job and Congress's alone. It goes on to say, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, the sanctions reversal does not impact the trial against Roman Storm in the United States, while Storm is seeking to dismiss the charges based on the ruling. So again, the dates here, ladies and gentlemen, this is no coincidence, right? Elections have consequences. This is what it was all about. This is why we talked about it. If Trump wouldn't have won, most likely they would still be attacking our industry. They would most likely have shut down X by now, and Ross would still be in prison. So anyways, just some thoughts to digest. And I'll say that Tornado Cash is not exactly very popular with the Bitcoin community because it's not for Bitcoin. But you have to pay attention to what their plan was. Their plan was to set a legal precedent where the US government has the capability to sanction open source software. And if they have that capability, you know what else is open source software? Bitcoin is open source software. Now that it looks like that Sega, that storyline is finally over after 2 years of ups and downs. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Opti, I mean, you've been in the trenches with me, brother, covering this stuff. And I think we were one of the first to like really point out what was going to happen. And I think we nailed it along the way, man. We really called inevitably that they were going to use this to go after Bitcoin projects and stuff. And that's exactly what ended up being the case. But it looks like that story is finally coming to an end, probably due to the recent election of Trump and how Trump feels towards the industry. Opti, what are your opinions?
Yeah, well, obviously on the surface, this is super good. Obviously, repealing that OFAC sanction is great, and I'm really happy that happened. But if you really kind of dig deep into it, like Roman Storm is still being prosecuted for money laundering charges, and so he's not out of the woods yet. So hopefully we do get some more promising and good information coming out of this, because as we covered in the very beginning, a lot of people were asking us, like, why are we even talking about this? This isn't necessarily a Bitcoin project. Like, it's a shitcoin. It's on a shitcoin. Who cares? As was proven later, it was setting precedent for privacy and open source software at large on the internet. And Roman did a pretty good tweet yesterday. What was it? Yesterday, I think it was. I can drop in the chat for you guys, but he is obviously still being prosecuted. He's still trying to fight for his freedom. And if this goes the wrong way, then this is bad precedent for all open source software on the internet, not just Bitcoin and shitcoin projects, but everything on the internet. But it does seem like we are starting to see, some good tailwinds in our direction. So hopefully this gets passed in a good way, and the court case kind of gets repealed at large, and Roman Storm doesn't get wrecked in this. So because we want to see the Samurai Wallet guys also not go to jail for stuff like this, and we believe in privacy. We don't believe that we're necessarily criminals just because we're trying to protect our privacy on the internet. And I personally don't believe that everything should be out and in the open. And I think privacy software is very important. I have blinds at my house for a reason. I don't think privacy makes us a criminal just because we want to be private on the internet. So we still have a long way to go in this, but I think this is a good trend of where things are going. So I was definitely excited to see this, and we were going to cover this yesterday, but the show went kind of long, and so I thought it's very important for us to actually talk about this and people be aware and updated on what is going on. So hopefully we hear some good news coming out later, but as of now, I would take the little W that we have here, and hopefully that this completely gets thrown out, because if you look at what the courts are kind of talking about, I don't think Roman Storm or any open source software developer should be held accountable for how people use that software. And also, not to bring Ross into this, but we kind of have another precedent there as well. So I'm hopeful here, cautiously hopeful. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of courts and politicians, but hey, it's good news.
It's incredibly important, guys, because essentially what's on the line is, like, what the U.S. government is saying is the developers of Tornado Cash or the developers of Samurai never wrote that to facilitate crime. They wrote that software because people wanted privacy. And the vast majority of people that were using Tornado Cash and using Samurai were not using it for illicit purposes. But they're claiming that because people used it for crime, the developers themselves are responsible. That's essentially the case. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a professional legal background, but from my understanding of it on a conceptual level, that's what they're trying to claim. And what they're also trying to claim too, that again, the US government has the power to sanction software, right? And of course that got thrown out. And I think this election had a big role in that. But that's a scary precedent. And the United States went through this earlier on, like back in the 90s, there was the so-called crypto wars. And I don't mean like cryptos and cryptocurrency, but it was the cryptography wars. And essentially the US government is trying to do the same thing. They're essentially trying to outlaw certain types of encryption because they wouldn't be able to access it. And of course that got thrown out because that is inconveniently for them against the First Amendment. And I would say against the Fourth or Fifth Amendment, the amendment that says no unreasonable searches and seizures, which I feel like that one has just been thrown out the window these days. Anyways, Chase, what are your thoughts on this? I don't know if you've been on top of this. It seems like you've been building hardcore your business and stuff, but I hope you have enough context to add commentary.
Yeah, I mean, this is why when normies get upset that they don't know who created Bitcoin, well, this is why Satoshi felt the need to remain pseudonymous. And obviously, we're seeing the parallels between Tornado Cash and Silk Road, right? When they couldn't stop Silk Road, the difference between Silk Road and Bitcoin is with Silk Road, with Ross, there was a throat to choke. And that, I think, is like the main takeaway, is that with Bitcoin, there is no throat to choke. And so that's what makes it kind of the premier, long-standing open source money protocol. And I hope that we get to a point where, one, we're recognizing that sanctions are just tend to backfire in the first place. That's what kind of spurred Russia, China, India, and these countries to move forward with their plans for BRICS, is because of the over-sanctioning of other countries for political purposes. And hopefully the legal precedent that we can get to is the one that is already on the books, which is that code is speech. And we are in a country that purports to have free speech. So we don't get mad at Henry Ford when somebody tragically drives a car through a crowd of people. And we should also remember that if Ross builds Silk Road and people use that in certain ways, it's the same thing as Mark Zuckerberg creating Facebook as a platform and people saying or doing things that are illegal on that platform. We don't call for Mark Zuckerberg's head every day, and we should keep the same precedent across all open source technology and code written projects.
Absolutely. I think that was a really important point, right? If Satoshi had not have disappeared, this is why he disappeared. Literally, this is why he disappeared, right? It's a very scary world if you can go to jail for writing code. That's specifically why the founding fathers in the United States protected speech. But again, there's something bigger happening here, guys. And I think it's really, this moment in history where the internet has completely changed the balance of power between the state and the individual. The individual now has the ability to do their own research, to consume the content they want to consume, the rise of independent media, and then, of course, the rise of independent non-sovereign money, which is Bitcoin. And I think that's changing things dramatically, and it's happening in a very short period of time, which is the reason that I believe you're seeing a lot of this chaos. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Mason. Mason, what are your thoughts on this recent Tornado Cash case/development?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of the same sentiment that Chase has said on the idea of technology being somehow bad. Not even the fact that it's open source code, but let's just think of tools like a shovel. A shovel can be useful to dig holes and provide value for the world, or it can be used to hit someone over the head. So I think that's the same way we have to look at Bitcoin. We're all humans with free will, and there are good humans and bad humans, and we shouldn't blame the good humans because, the bad ones ruined it for everybody. I think we do have a right to privacy, even though it's not something that is enshrined in the Constitution. I believe it should be. And I am very familiar with what happens when you don't have the right to privacy. I spent some time in China when I was in college studying abroad, and everything there is paid with QR codes. And if you say something bad about the Chinese Communist Party, or you don't get your particular vaccine, or whatever the issue may be, they can prevent your access to technology, your ability to pay for things, because everything is done through these QR codes. So, yeah, I think we have a right to privacy, and we should do everything we can to protect that, even if it's on a shitcoin protocol.
100%. 100%. All right, everybody, we're going to be right back. We're going to hit the culture, and we're going to talk to these gentlemen. We're going to talk to Chase and Mason, who have been building in stealth Acropolis Treasury. So we're going to talk a lot about that. So guys, stay tuned. We will be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, BitBlockBoom 2025. Guys, it's going to be one of the best Bitcoin conferences of the year, April 3rd through the 6th. Network with fellow Bitcoiners. This is the longest running Bitcoin conference celebrating their 8th year. BitBlockBoom holds a very special place in my heart because it's the first time when me and Opti actually met each other in person. And I don't think Simply Bitcoin would be what Simply Bitcoin is today if it wasn't for this very, very special conference. Simply Bitcoin will be doing the production for the entire conference, so you guys will be able to see all the panels on the Simply Bitcoin channel. And of course, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew is going to be there. So Nico, Opti, Dante, Rustin, Jacob, you guys definitely don't want to miss BitBlockBoom 2025, April 3rd through the 6th in Dallas, Texas. All right, everybody, I do want to open up the conversation, take advantage of our guests joining us today. We have Mason and Chase. These guys are Bitcoin entrepreneurs. They just launched their company, and the name of the company is Acropolis. Guys, could you, Chase, Mason, I don't know who to ask this question to, but could you guys give us a quick elevator pitch on what Acropolis is?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that, and Mason can fill in any gaps that I leave out. But essentially, as corporate Bitcoin Treasury adoption grows, led in large part by the proof in the pudding with MicroStrategy, we foresee this trend to just grow exponentially as businesses and business owners wake up to the need to own Bitcoin on their balance sheets. And we also recognize that, just like Bitcoin itself is a scarce asset, there is a scarcity of true Bitcoin only folks who understand corporate finance and treasury management. And so what we've done is we've tried to really simplify and scale corporate Bitcoin treasury adoption by becoming a outsourced Bitcoin treasury team that companies either in private market, public market, or US or any jurisdiction, they can come tap us and we'll walk them through everything from custody to accumulation strategies, to accretive debt and equity financing strategies, to corporate communications to make sure that they're bringing investor relations and stakeholder engagement, bringing the team on board. There's a lot of things you can do when you implement a Bitcoin treasury, but it's very hard to do if you have to spend a year to go out and try to find talent in the space to bring in-house. And so that can be not only expensive to bring that talent in-house, and you can screw up and find folks that maybe aren't capable of actually helping you implement that strategy. But also you'll take a year and you won't be allocating at today's prices. You'll be allocating at the prices a year from now when you finally get your compliance team on board. So we've really got this repeatable process in place now where we can onboard a company and get them to a Bitcoin treasury really quickly.
I love it. Mason, you want to chime in here? Because I do want to ask about maybe some predictions for 2025 in regards to corporate adoption. But Mason, if you want to add something on the elevator pitch.
Yeah, no, I think Chase summarized it really well. I think the only other thing to note is that we are specialists. So we're the Bitcoin Treasury specialist, and anytime you want something done right, you don't want a shop that works on Ethereum and treasuries, and also they're building a marketplace and all these other things. So we specialize in Bitcoin Treasury, and I'm really proud of the team that we've put together, and our bench of advisors is really world class. So anytime we're unsure of something when working with a client, we can easily tap that bench of advisors. And yeah, really proud of what we've been doing so far.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
So-
Gunny, go. Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because Chase, you buried the lead there, and I want to go back. Okay. You said that and you're basing the theory of your company is behind this, right? You said that you expect there's going to be a massive influx of companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And just like for anyone who's watched, Simply does this, of course, but we're a Bitcoin media company, so it's a no-brainer. It is a cheat code, by the way. If you're a business owner, even if you're not in the Bitcoin industry, if you put part of your treasury in Bitcoin and it's magical because your runway just keeps getting longer, and then all of a sudden, like, you're making payroll and the fiat value stays exactly the same because of the Bitcoin price appreciation, is a magical thing until the bear market. I'll let you know how that goes. But anyways, Chase, what are your thoughts on this, man? Why are you anticipating more companies looking at what Michael Saylor is doing and really, putting Bitcoin on their treasuries?
So I think a huge piece of this, and Mason kind of mentioned it at the top of the show, is the FASB rule changes. We are now at the point where, like, if we look at MicroStrategy and what's coming up with their Q1 earnings report, they're going to be able to mark from a kind of an accounting treatment, the appreciation on their Bitcoin holdings as net income. So no longer are they going to have to mark it down. And this, I believe, is going to be the big wake-up call to capital markets when MicroStrategy has what I think will be the biggest change in earnings per share that a company has ever seen. And so, we are, to some extent, just riding the MicroStrategy wave as they go out and, as Michael Saylor says, kind of build the bridge and then go and stand on it. And so if you want to, grow shareholder value, you can take the NVIDIA approach and you can spend massive amounts of money on CapEx and, factories and all of these raw materials. Or you can do what MicroStrategy does and outperforms NVIDIA over the last 5 years, which is a team of 5 to 10 people just buying and holding Bitcoin. And so, as Jack Mallers also says, this is growth off the shelf. M&A strategies are very risky for companies, and holding cash in a checking account that is, being devalued away is also risky. It might be stable and predictable, but it is risky for the business's long-term health and resilience. And so, if folks are scared of Bitcoin's volatility as something that they put on their treasury because they're worried that they're going to need it for operations, well, that's why you work with a professional, and it's just all about position sizing. Maybe only 5% of your treasury makes sense for your business, but I believe, and obviously we're staking our business on it, that we're going to see exponential growth over this cycle of corporate Bitcoin treasury adoption.
Incredible. And I agree with that, because I think that once you get a taste of just adding it, it is a literal cheat code. I can't emphasize that enough. So yeah, I think that once small businesses, entrepreneurs, big businesses, they really get like a taste of it. I definitely agree with that theory. Now, my question for you, Chase, is like, what is the service that you guys provide? And I'm going to approach it from my perspective. Like, so of course, Simply Bitcoin, small business, small media company. And we put part of our treasury in Bitcoin. Why do I need you? like very blunt question. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I will say you guys have been in Bitcoin for a long time. Everybody in your business is Bitcoiners, and you are a Bitcoin business. But what we're trying to do is make Bitcoin treasury adoption something that the average restaurant or the average B2B SaaS company can do, even if they don't necessarily have Bitcoin expertise on their team. And so it's really expensive, to actually go out, try to find and hire in-house support for this specific piece of your treasury strategy. You might have treasury bills, you might be holding some in cash, you might have a lot of different assets in your treasury, but Bitcoin is this unique asset class that does have different considerations that you need to take into account, especially custody. So one of the big hangups besides FASB that we've seen with clients is this idea of custody. So if I asked you how MicroStrategy custodies their Bitcoin today, and they're the ones that are supposedly open sourcing the playbook, it's actually unclear where they are custodying the assets. And so what we've done is we're actually building our financial services on top of multi-institution custody. So this leverages the multi-sig component of best-in-class custody solutions for individuals like Unchained is a leader in, but without a company having to hold and manage those keys in-house and become kind of security experts and worry about the CEO or the CFO having a plastic device in their wallet or becoming a target for kidnapping, which we've seen some in the recent news this week, actually. And so the way that this works is you have 3 different qualified institutions. Each of them is a key holder. You don't hold the keys yourselves, but you have a legal agreement with each of those custodians that you can direct them to sign a transaction, and you need 2 out of those 3 institutions to sign. So it's kind of a slower way to move your Bitcoin, but it's in deep cold storage, and you have the protection and kind of corporate controls that compliance teams and CFOs need to see for them to actually take spot ownership of this asset, which I think we would all agree we want companies to own and hold spot Bitcoin and not the ETFs.
Absolutely. So this is I'm assuming this is a 2 of 3 type of setup. Does the business owner hold 1 key?
No, it's all 3 institutions. So the idea here is that for a company
it's 3 separate custodians.
Correct. So in our quorum, we have CoinCover, BitGo, and OnRamp. So 3 qualified custodians, each holding the cryptographic key material. You can set up different protocols with each of those 3 custodians, and they can only sign transactions at the discretion of whoever at the company has the authority to call for a signature. So you need 2 of those 3 institutions, and you kind of they manage the keys and the cryptographic material so that you don't have to manage it in-house. But ultimately, and maybe this is kind of a new term because you mentioned it at the top, not your keys, not your cheese. We're kind of moving for the corporate world to this idea of not your control over the keys, not your cheese.
Gotcha. No, that's fascinating. I think that's definitely a market need because we definitely want, obviously, as Bitcoiners, we're incentivized for more people to buy Bitcoin, treasuries to adopt Bitcoin. That makes the number go up. But again, I think because Bitcoin is such a different asset than what they're used to handle. There's really no like equivalent because I've seen. I think a part of the success of MicroStrategy was a lot of companies wanted exposure to Bitcoin, but they couldn't get exposure to Bitcoin, so they bought MicroStrategy as a proxy instead. And if you think about that, it's quite interesting. And I think Saylor's a genius the way that he implements it and he went about it. But it was like MicroStrategy is a software company. It's not even a Bitcoin treasury company, but it became this Bitcoin treasury company that has a software component. But that's how people used, that's how a lot of corporations got exposure to Bitcoin, where in reality, what they should be doing is buying spot Bitcoin and having exposure that way. So Mason, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and what's the biggest risk to MicroStrategy in our eyes is their custody solution. I'm not saying it's good or bad. We don't really know publicly how it works, but that's the biggest risk. And anecdotally, I used to work on the treasury team at eBay. I did everything I could to bring Bitcoin to the company. Obviously, I decided to quit and start this instead. But one time I walked into the CFO of eBay's office with a ledger and was explaining to him how hardware wallets work. And he literally laughed at me. And he's like, "You want us to buy Bitcoin and put it on these things?" And, it's great for the average sovereign individual, big fan of multi-sig technology in general and self-custody. So I'm not saying put all of your stack, but the idea of a company using these devices doesn't make much sense. And then at the same time, the chief risk officer or the legal team is not going to be okay with the company's retained earnings all at Coinbase. So that's where we came in with our multi-institution custody solution, and Acropolis building exclusively on top of that, because we think it's the best way for corporates to add real Bitcoin, real UTXOs that you can verify. Yeah.
Awesome. And there's actually rumors that Coinbase's custody model is actually a ledger which he keeps in his nightstand. But it is, to be fair, he adds a 25th word. And the rumor is that the 25th word is Opti, believe it or not. So that's the rumor. It might not be true, but that's what I've heard about Coinbase custody. No, I'm just kidding. I heard they have
quit spreading fake news.
I heard they have incredible custody.
I do want to have some fun right now, considering what Mason just said. We've been kind of hearing a lot of rumors of some of the top corporations in the world, at the very least, have these conversations about Bitcoin. So I know it's your business to custody and promote the adoption of corporate balances in Bitcoin. But do you think this year we might see some of the biggest corporations in the world adopt Bitcoin, or are we still a little early? Like, are we going to see a Magnificent Seven company go into Bitcoin this year? Or like, how do you think this is going to play out? Are we still kind of early? Is it this cycle? Is 2025 going to be the year that we see, the Apples of the world adopt Bitcoin? Or like, you guys are having these conversations probably behind the scenes. Don't expose anything you can't. But like, what is the general trend that you guys are feeling right now?
For a Magnificent Seven, I would be a little bit cautious in saying that. I think I've been caught before in 2020 saying that would happen, because when MicroStrategy decided to put it on their balance sheet, I was just so excited. So maybe not this year for Magnificent Seven, but definitely for the majority of the S&P 500 and large private businesses. They're all having the conversation. I think not just us, but anyone who is has anything to do with the Bitcoin industry and in helping these corporates get Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they're seeing a huge rise in consultations, and we're super busy over here.
Bullish.
Yeah, and maybe if I can add to that, I mean, Saylor often talks about how they had a need to know. MicroStrategy was becoming this zombie company that was struggling to find growth and new product lines and services that could propel the business forward and increase shareholder wealth. And I think that I think the same thing applies to the rest of the market. Like, there's a huge amount of zombie companies out there that are just treading water, and this is an opportunity for them to actually, become competitive again. And a lot of startups out there that are struggling to raise that additional round of capital because they didn't hit their previous, 2 years of growth metrics, whatever it is. We fully expect businesses that have seen plateaued growth to be the first round of adoption. And then, maybe Meta, if I was going to call out any of the Magnificent Seven, it does seem like Zuck is either been on a Bitcoin path personally, but he definitely also has this other component that is important for our clients, which is either still founder-led or have majority shareholder, has majority shareholder control of the company, because, this is kind of your orange dictator idea, where if you have one person with the power that is sufficiently orange-pilled, they can pull the company in that direction. And that's what actually made MicroStrategy unique in public markets, is that Saylor was still majority shareholder. And so Meta best fits that. But it's a big lift to try to get all of your other shareholders and executive board and compliance teams on board. And so we think smaller companies are going to be faster to adopt.
I 100% agree, and just messing with you guys a little bit, because everyone wants to know what the next big 7 tech company is going to adopt Bitcoin. But
I forgot about Meta, and don't forget that he has a goat named Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And the other one's Max. He literally goats named Maxi Bitcoin Maxi. Like,
yeah, but but I appreciate your guys' insights, Mason. That story about you going into the CFO offices of eBay and pitching them on Bitcoin, like that you're never gonna forget that for the rest of your life, man. It's absolutely historic. What you guys are building is incredible. Again, building tools for Bitcoin, for companies to add Bitcoin to into their treasury. And perhaps these companies are not familiar with Bitcoin, right? So you guys are building these tools. You guys are awesome Bitcoin entrepreneurs. Guys, go check out, let me get this right. Go check out acropolistreasury.com. You guys could find out more about Chase and Mason's new company. This is awesome Bitcoin treasury solution. They have different, could you show the different tiers, Opti? So they have Ascent, Ascent.
It's Foundations, Ascent,
It
and
should say
Olympus.
Foundations. There's an error. I'll fix that.
So the first tier is the first tier is just custody. The second tier is kind of our layered financial services, and then that third tier, that really comes with everything from accretive finance strategies to multi-jurisdictional, multi-institution custody. You get your own Bitcoin treasury team there with your Bitcoin strategy officer and quarterly meetups and preparation on your accumulation plan and stuff like that.
Love that. So guys, go check out, they have 3 plans: Foundation, Ascent, and Olympus. Again, go check out acropolistreasury.com. If your business is looking into putting Bitcoin on your treasury, you don't know a lot about Bitcoin, these guys could help facilitate just that. Anyways, guys, today is January 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Nikos, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. Our guests today, Chase and Mason from Acropolis. Guys, if you guys enjoyed the show, just smash the like button. We have 3,700 live viewers right now. Holy cow. I don't know what's been going on these last couple days, but love you all. Appreciate you all. And we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.